Hi, I'm Johnny and you're watching the Hexy Beast. And on today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing this game from DRP Games, Coffee Roaster. Anyway, pour yourself a cup and join me at the table. Okay, so this is Coffee Roaster. Would you like to be let in on the secrets of coffee roasting? In the one-player game of Coffee Roaster, you try to create the perfect cup of coffee. To this end, you need to have the right touch and a good nose for harnessing the full potential of the coffee beans. Roast the coffee beans skillfully, place flavour tokens on the game board, and use the effects after that. The roasted beans are processed, and finally, a decisive cup testing takes place. Will it be the creation of a true master roaster? Well, let's find out, shall we? So the first thing we do in Coffee Roaster is we need to pick which side of the board we're going to play. As you can see in this little icon here, it has two sides. One's a lightweight and one's a heavyweight. So today we're going to be playing the lightweight version. So we're just going to put that there. And then you may also notice that this score tracker board also has a double weight and a single weight symbol. And we're going to be playing the single weight side of that as well. There's multiple ways to play the game, but we're just going to be playing a single game just to show you how it works. As well as that, you want to make sure that we have this cup testing board slotted into the recess on the side. Now let's continue with the rest of the setup. Okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to take your round tracker and put it on 0. And we'll just place this by here for now until we draw a card in a second. The next thing we want to do is take all the tokens with this back, randomize them, and then place them face down on these parts of the board. And you'll see why in a second. So we'll just place all them down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to flip them over. And these will basically function as endgame scoring for us. I'll explain these as we use them. Now we're also going to place this wild token by here. As well as that, we're going to place one of each flavour token in these top spaces because we're on the easy mode, so we get to use some of these whenever we want. So we'll put them there. Okay, so now it's time to choose a coffee, and as you can see, we got plenty of them. And I think just for this first game, the best one for us to pick would be the Sao Paulo blend from Brazil, because this is a beginner and a level 1 coffee. This also tells us how to set up the game, but we'll get back to that in a second. So first, let's just choose it. Here it is. Also, let's put this scoring reference card off to the side for when we finish. Okay, so now that we've selected our coffee, it's time for us to set up the bag. By the way, this is the bag. We'll just leave that to the side by here. But what you're going to be doing is putting each of the beans represented in this card into the bag, ready to start play. As well as that, you may also notice that it tells you which space the round tracker starts on. So we'll get on with that now. So as you can see here, we've actually got all the tokens ready. So if you read the card, you'll see that we need 13 zeros. 3 moisture, 3 hard beans. We've also got our 2 reds, 2 greens, and 3 blues. So now we should be ready to chuck all them in the bag, and I'll show you how the game is played. Also, before we start, we need to populate the board with smoke tokens. And as you can see, as they're on the board, we have 1 in this space, and we'll also have 2 in this space. These are basically bad things that will get added to the bag throughout the game. So just give the bag a good mix, and then we're ready to start the game. Okay, normally the first start of a turn is to advance the round marker, but because it's our first turn, we don't do that. So let's just get on with drawing tokens from the bag. And how we know how many tokens to draw is based on the number below. So in this round, we're going to be drawing 8 tokens. So let's do that now. Okay, we're just going to give the bag a shake, and then we're going to draw 8 tokens for ourselves. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And as you can see here, we've got a lot of zeros, bit of moisture, and 2 hard beans and a flavour bean. Okay, so because the moisture come up, the first thing we do, is very important, is we remove the moisture and return it to the box. Okay, at this point, what we would be allowed to do is spend any of our flavour tokens to activate any of these abilities. But looking at what we've got on there right now, and the fact that I can't actually use this power in order to put it on the board, what I'm going to do is instead I'm going to place one of my zeros over here, so that once I get a 1 on there next turn, or this turn if I had it, but I don't because it's the first turn, I will get this wild bean to either use on the board or put straight into my bag. Okay, so I've used what tokens I want to use this round. So basically what happens now is the beans will roast and increase in value. Okay, so basically that means that these 3 zeros will become 3 ones. And these hard beans, which is important to note, if you look at them, it says when they roast, they'll become 0. So we get 2 zeros as well. Now that we've roasted all our beans, all of these go back into the bag. And because we increased the value of all the tokens in the bag by 3, we will also move this bag level up a little bit. Well, we're going to move it up to 3. So this means now we know the total value in the bag is about 3, which is useful for noting for when we do our cup test later, as we're trying to get 14. Okay, so now on the next turn, the first thing we're going to do is advance the round, which means that we're going to be drawing 9 tokens in this round. So let's get on with it, shall we? Okay, so let's draw the 9 tokens for this round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so this is everything we've drawn so far to use for this round, and the same as before, the moisture disappears straight away. Okay, so now I think it's a good time to go over some flavor tokens, as well as these endgame scoring abilities. So if you look here, this means that I can combine any 2 beans into a single bean. But I'll need to be able to activate this power in order to put it by here, for example, so that we're one step closer to getting the drip tray. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place this here. And I'll show you how that works. Okay, so because I placed this red flavor token, it means that I now have to find 2 beans in order to combine them into 1 stronger bean. So we're going to take these 2 ones to make 1, 2. So this means we are one step closer to unlocking our drip tray, which will basically allow us to use these extra 3 spaces down here in the cup test, which you'll see soon why that's important. Okay, so same as before, we're going to roast up all our beans. So we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros to make them 4 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this 2 is going to become a 3. Okay, now that that's done, we just take it all and put it back in the bag and get on with the next round. Okay, so because we've done that, our bag strength is now 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the 2 for the 3 is now at 9. So let's see how we're doing moving forward. Okay, so same as before, we're going to advance the round tracker, only this time we have to take this smoke token and immediately add it to the bag. And as you can see, this little cross means it's minus a point if we draw it into our cup test. So let's do that now. Also worth noting is that the beans this round will actually roast up by 2, unless they're a hard bean, because the hard beans can only roast up to 0. So anyway, let's get on with drawing our tokens. So these are the 10 tokens we drew from the bag this time. And the first thing, as always, we're going to remove the moisture. Now looks like a good time for us to unlock that drip tray. Okay, so basically, this blue flavour token, instead of combining a bean together, will actually let us split beans apart. So I think in this case, I'm going to use this blue right by here, which will allow me to turn this 3 bean into a 2 bean and a 1 bean. So now that bean has been split. Okay, so just in case you were wondering why I used that 3 blue token instead of the one I drew from the bag. This was mainly because if you look at our variety card, you can actually see that the flavour profile requires me to have 2 blues. I don't need them in there, but they're very good point scoring opportunity at the end. So I decided instead of using one of my 2 blue beans, which I know there's 3 in the bag, I decided to use one of the 3 ones to guarantee that I got a greater chance of drawing them in the cup test. Now let's move on to the rest of the turn. Okay, but what I was supposed to do first, because you're always supposed to activate this left side of the board before the right, is I was going to place a 1 in this space so that we get this wild flavour token into our bag. And we can choose to use it now or put it in the bag, and I've chosen to put it in the bag. Okay, so now it's time to roast everything up. So let's bear in mind that we are on this red bit of the track by here, so it means they're going to go up by 2. So in this case, that means these 3 zeros become 3 2s, these 3 1s become 3 3s, this 1 2 becomes a 4, and if you remember what I told you before, the hard bean will still become a 0. Okay, so that's now everything roasted up, which means we're now going to get, what was that, 6, 12, and 14 added to our bag strength. So that goes up to 23. As you can see, we've pretty much doubled our test. So I think instead of moving on to our next round, what we can choose to do after putting the tokens into the bag is to perform a cup test. And I feel that now is a good time to do that. So let's do that now. Also worth noting is because we managed to get both tokens by here, we actually unlock this endgame event, which means that we're going to get a few extra spaces in our drip tray when drawing our cup test next turn. Okay, so I think now would be a good time to just do a quick explanation of what these spaces do. So if I was to use them, this one would allow me to draw 2 more tokens out of the bag. This one will allow me to put 2 tokens I've already drawn out of the bag back into the bag and then draw another 2. And this one basically allows me to draw 5, keep 3, and then put 2 out of the game. And if I was to use this space, it would let me remove any of the bad tokens I drew from the game as well. Also worth noting is these endgame effects. This would basically function the same as one of the bags, just instead of drawing out of the tokens, you'll be drawing out the cup. This is basically an extra, 3 bean for the cup test. This one doubles the row in the cup test, and this one is basically a flavour token, which for the purposes of this coffee would work as a wild, but there are some coffees in the game that require these as an extra flavour token. So anyway, let's just get on with our cup test. We've chosen not to go on to the next round, so let's just draw our tokens and see how we did. Okay, so now it's time to do our cup test, and as we draw tokens, what we're trying to do is reach a level of 14 so that we can get 10 points for it. Also, we get extra points for these, but I'll explain all the scoring after we've done the full test. So let's draw the first token. And the first token is wild flavour token. We kind of need this one, I think. Let's draw our next token. We're going to have a 0, so we're going to put that in the drip tray. Then we're going to draw the next one, which is a 3, which is nice. We'll keep that one. We're going to draw our next one, which, this happens to be our blue flavour token. So we need that one as well. Next one going to be drawn is this 4, which we're going to put in the drip tray because I think it's a little high. We're going to draw another 3. We're going to put that in that row. Draw another one. Oh, nice, we got a set. So that's our 3. So that's 9 altogether so far, and we're aiming for 14. Then what we're going to do is we're going to draw our next token, which is this green one, which actually gives us all our flavour tokens. So that's definitely a good start. And we're going to draw this one, which is a nice one to go in there too. And we're going to draw, that's going in the drip tray right away. Then we're going to draw, both of those, well, one of those zeros I'm going to keep actually. I'm going to keep that one, I think. And I'm going to draw a 2. Okay, that's nice. So what we really need is a 1 to actually get a really good cup test. We drew a blue flavour token, which in this case I'm going to put in a drip tray because I unlocked that one. And then we're going to draw one more token, and it's exactly what we needed. What's the chances of that? Right, now that we've got everything we needed here, it's time for me to talk to you how we score this cup. So let's do that now. Okay, so now it's time to score this. As we're only doing a single game, we're only going to score this top row, but if we were playing the 3 in a row, we would then add all those total scores together. So right now, first thing we're going to do is check out our roast value. And it appears to be we have 9 plus 2 is 11 plus 3 is 14. That is actually exactly what we need to get 10 points. So let's do that now. Now, it's time to check on our flavour profile. And if we look here, we can reference over here. So we've actually got all 3 tokens needed because this is a wild one and we can use it as whatever we want. So we've got our 2 blues and our green, which will give us a grand total of 6 points there. Oh, looking good so far. Plus, we then got to add up our sets. And in this case, we only have 1 set. And as you can see by this scoring card, if we had 3 of a kind, we would get 1 point. If we had 4 of a kind, we get 2, and so on. So that actually gives us an extra point for a grand total of 17 points. That's actually a very good score because we didn't have any tokens that took any of our score away. Anyway, I think that's about time to wrap up the demonstration. So now let's just head back to the table where I'm going to tell you what I think. Okay, so now we've had a look at how the game plays. It's time for me to tell you what I think of it. And so moving on to our first category, we're going to be going for aesthetics. I personally feel that the game absolutely looks lovely. I feel that the token quality is nice and high. I like that there's a nice bit of flavour text about each of the coffees in the game. As well as that, when you first open the box, you're greeted by one of these, which is a lovely little sheet explaining what happens and how coffee is grown and picked, etc. So I personally really enjoyed the aesthetics of this game, and for that reason I've decided to give it a 9 out of 10 for aesthetics. Okay, so that brings us on to my next category, which is gameplay, and for this one I've decided to give it a 9. This is because I really enjoy the push-your-luck bag building elements of this game. As well as that, I think the overall shortness of the game makes it really easy to play multiple games and actually get pretty good. There may be a lot of random in here, but I feel that it gives you plenty of options to mitigate the randomness. so that you can really think about what the strength of your bag is and actually pull those tokens you need in the cup test, which, as you can see from the gameplay, I was very lucky, but I did manage to do. Now let's move on to my next category. Okay, so that brings us on to accessibility. And for this category, I've decided to score an 8 out of 10. I feel that this game is actually really easy to play, and I quite think that it's really difficult not to understand the idea of drawing tokens out of a bag. The only thing that kind of lets it down is there's a few rules in that rulebook which describe some of these endgame effects and some of these as you play effects on the side of the board, which can be a little bit iffy and take you a few times to read them before you know exactly what you're doing. So, but apart from that, it's actually a really good rulebook. There's plenty of text there to really get the theme into you, and like I said, it's a pretty quick game to play, so you can play 3 games of this for the main roasting challenge in about half hour. So for accessibility, that's an 8, and it's time now to move on to my total score. Okay, so that brings us round to the total score for the game, which is an 8.7 out of 10, which is an amazing score for an amazing game. I personally really love this bag building game, and I think it's going to be in my collection for a long time. One of the best things about it is that it really doesn't take that long to play, and it isn't that expensive or hard to get hold of at the moment. So I can't really recommend this game enough. I just have to say that I really enjoy it, and I tend to play it a lot. Anyway, if you like any of the games on my shelf, or just fancy adding something to your collection, please check out the link to Firestorm Games in my description below. As well as that, I just gotta say that if you like what you see here, please smash that subscribe button up there and check out another one of my videos up here. Anyway, I've been Johnny, you've been watching the Hexy Beast, and most of all, stay Hexy everyone!